In. Guys, finally getting over this cold, thank God. Obviously got my training tonight as well. First training session for my boxing event coming up. So yeah, as I said, guys, I've got in the description. If you guys can donate to my charity, obviously this event, this boxing fight is for charity. So again, I'd be grateful if you guys could donate. You know, any small amount is welcomed. And as I said, it's going to a great cause. So yeah, make sure you guys check out the description. And as I said, yeah, make sure you guys at least contribute to some small donation if you can. Big up yourselves for coming on. Big up to Jude and big up to Lumi Rain each and every time. So as we said, guys, England obviously qualify for the 2026 World Cup in America. Big up to Broderick. Big up my guy for coming on. So yeah, England qualified for the 2026 World Cup. I mean, to be honest with you, it wasn't really a shock. I mean, 18 points so far in a group that contains the likes of Latvia, Serbia's in there, Albania. Is it Albania? No, sorry, Is it North Macedonia or Albania? I can't remember. Can't remember the actual group. But again, I mean, to be honest with you, why are we surprised? I mean, England obviously they do they do this to teams that they should be doing it to, and the main test for them obviously is the World Cup. So as I keep saying, it's one of them things where I'm not too interested in England against teams like this. But what I am interested in is when they get to the World Cup, when they play the better teams, and then we can see how where they really are. Big up to Leanne. Leanne says, "What charity is it you are raising money for?" So it's called Andy's Man Club. So it's a charity which is in aid of men's mental health. So again, mental health is a thing that does go under the radar, especially in terms of men. So yeah, it's for a good cause. It's for a very good cause. So again, make sure you guys check out my description. The link is in there. As I said, I've got to raise at least £50 for my boxing fight in December. So again, if you guys can make any sort of contribution, it's always welcomed. As I said, even if it's as little as a couple of pound, £5, it's something. You know what I mean? So so yeah, make sure you guys check out the description, and if you can donate, that would be great. Big up yourselves. Guys, as always, when you come in, make sure you guys smash the like button and make sure you guys sub to the channel as well. So when you smash that like button, it helps the channel to grow. And obviously, if you're new in here as well, make sure you sub to the channel. And as always, guys, make sure you try and share the channel as well. Share the content, make it reach more people. This is a proper footballing channel, where we have proper footballing debates, And again, it's not just football, it's boxing, it's wrestling, UFC, real life stuff, whatever you guys wanna discuss, it's more or less open for debate. So as I said, make sure you guys smash the like button on your way in, and make sure you sub if you're new. So as I said, England, 18 points so far, qualifying for the World Cup in America. And I think they've got, 2 games to spare. But again, we're not really surprised. It's one of them things where, it's one of them things where we did expect it, really. And what I would say is, and we're going to get into it in a minute, you look at some of the players that we definitely kind of know that going to start. I think the biggest problem that Thomas Tuchel has is what is he going to play around the definite starters, because I think there's a lot of competition for places. There's a lot of players there, again, providing they stay clear of injury. We'll be hoping, that they will be on the plane. But I think even more importantly, I think we'll be expecting to be starting the games. So it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Again, what formation is he going to play? I think club football, he does like to play 3 at the back, but which was shown when he was at Chelsea. But I think mainly a 4 he's going to play. And what I would say is that yeah, what I was saying is a case where yeah, he's gonna play the four, I believe, and I think it's definitely gonna be a case of what fits around the main players in the lineup for the first game. Again, who's England's first game? Does anyone know England's first game of the tournament or who's in their group? Again, I haven't been following it that much. We're now seeing, obviously, does England have the best squad depth in world football? Again, you always get this kind of noise coming out. This kind of noise coming out before the tournament, and because England have qualified. But I think it's important that people just temper expectations, because I think England fans, the media, these pundits, they do this every year, every couple of years, every 4 years, whether it's the World Cup or the Euros. It's always England are going to win it, or they're going to go deep into the competition. And it's never really that. So I think they need to just be a bit more humble in that sense, because I think we're not really gaining anything from England beating the likes of Latvia. Funny enough, I watched the first half, and I caught the first half, and yeah, it was more of a case where England were always going to beat Latvia. Latvia really, to be fair, Latvia played some decent football from what I see, but there was no potency in attack. It was one of them things where eventually England were going to break them down, because they were sitting so deep, and then when the ball was going up to the striker, he wasn't really keeping it, so the pressure was always there. And then obviously, first half, I think Anthony Gordon got the first one. Good finish. Poor defending, but great finish. And then obviously I only watched the first half, and then when I turned it back on, I see 5-0. So yeah, as I said, man, we're not really surprised that England win these kind of games. But as you guys will know, what I've said previously, it's the games against, the likes of France, Argentina, Brazil, Portugal, Spain, Germany, Italy, even though Italy ain't the same Italy, but it's against teams like that you're really going to see what England have got, because Holland as well put in there. Because again, we've seen it all too many times that when England play them teams, it's never a big margin as what they're beating the likes of the Luxembourgs and the Latvias. So it's one of them things. Big up to everyone coming through. Guys, make sure we smash the like button, and make sure we sub to the channel if we're new in here as well. So yeah, we're going to get into, guys, England's potential lineup, and what players, and guys, let me know what players you think will fit around the main players I'm going to go through. And again, let me know what you think England's lineup should be in the first game. And again, does anyone know England's first game of the tournament as well? Let me know what England's first game of the tournament is, and make sure you put that in the description, guys. So obviously, starting off in goal, I think there's no surprise. I think some people are calling, Jordan Pickford, is he England's best ever goalkeeper to play in the Premier League? And it's crazy to think that, because, I mean, would I have ever seen? The draw hasn't happened yet. Okay, I thought the groups were already organised again. So yeah, big up Broderick. So for me, Jordan Pickford, no surprise. Obviously, he'll be number one for England. I can't remember how many caps he's got, but obviously he's one of their most experienced players in the squad now. And again, some people are calling for Pickford. Is he England's best ever goalkeeper in the Premier League? And for me, I wouldn't have thought a goalkeeper playing for Everton would have been regarded as that. You think of goalkeepers throughout the years. For England, you think of the likes of David Seaman, Joe Hart, Paul Robinson, David James. Who else was there? I'm trying to think what else there was. Obviously, there's some of the ones now. I mean, you're not really going to mention them. But there's calls for him that he's the best ever goalkeeper for England. Or is he? For me, I think Pickford for England's very good, But again, a lot of it comes down to the teams they're playing. I think, as we know, when they're playing the likes of the Luxembourgs, Latvias, you're not really gaining anything from seeing England play them teams, But I think Pickford, in terms of his goalkeeping, I think his reactions are very good. Ball at his feet is decent. But I think in terms of the top keepers in the world, he's not that for me, man. He's nowhere near that for me. But I think as a reliable goalkeeper for England, he has been that. And I think definitely he's going to be there if he stays injury free. And again, I don't think Dean Henderson or James Trafford, that will probably go with him as well. I don't think they're going to get any game time. I think Pickford plays all the games, as a lot of number ones do. So it's a case of what's going to happen around that. So I think Pickford definitely is going to be there, and I think everyone would agree that Pickford will be definitely starting. I think there's no surprise there. I think going through the center of the team, I think it's probably easier to go with in terms of who gets picked. I think centre back, I would say John Stones. I think John Stones for me, he is still for me England's probably their best centre back. But again, with John Stones, it's going to be about injury. Can he stay injury free? Can he get game time with Man City to prove his fitness going into the World Cup? So I definitely do think if he does prove his fitness, he's a definite starter. He's the most experienced centre back in the squad as well. So yeah, you definitely think John Stones. But again, I'm gonna say if I'm not gonna say Stones, because I think Stones one depends on fitness. And again, John Stones hasn't shown that he can stay fit for any considerable amount of time. So I think it's going to be touch and go for me with John Stones. But I think Mark Guehi definitely starts. I know Guehi didn't start yesterday, but I think Guehi's now put himself in contention. If it's not John Stones, that's a definite starter. It's Mark Guehi. And I think Guehi definitely starts for England at centre back. So yeah, I'm gonna say Pickford. I'm gonna say Guehi, and I think what Guehi needs to do as well for me, I think he's best staying at Crystal Palace for the whole season, because I think if he stays at Palace, as we know, he's gonna play week in week out. I think going to Liverpool, you still got Konate there. Van Dijk's gonna play, but I think him going to Liverpool, he's not guaranteed to start for me, because do I see Arne Slot just bringing him in January if he does leave and playing him next to Van Dijk? I think the only way that happens is if one of them defenders does get injured. But I think Guehi is the captain for Palace, and I think he knows his place at Palace. They're in Europe as well, in the Conference League. So I think he's got every possibility to stay at Palace and protect his place in the England squad. Because I do think if he does stay fit, he's definitely going to go. So yeah, I think 100%, man, he needs to do that. And if he does that, he definitely starts for me. Moving on to midfield, Declan Rice, as we know, again, I'm not a massive fan of Declan Rice. I do think he's massively overrated, but he's definitely going to start for England. There's no surprise there. Again, one of their most experienced players. And I think going through the centre of the team, Pickford, Stones or Guehi, Declan Rice, I think everyone in the chat now can agree that, yeah, them 3 or 4 players there definitely start. And then you move on to the captain, Harry Kane. Again, no surprises there. And the problem is, I think, with England is that their strike force, really, their central striker, I think the fact that England always play Kane never really misses a game when he's fit. Doesn't really come off either. I think it's a massive problem for any striker coming to that squad. And I mentioned this before, because if you're looking at the fact that, some players might be, disinterested. I know people will say, but you're playing for your country, etc. But I think if you're a striker and you know that Kane's going to play and really and truly you're just coming along for the ride, I think it's a case where, yeah, you can be a bit demotivated at times, But I think if you look at England's striking options, apart from Kane, for me, Ivan Toney's the best of the lot. I think him and Kane should be the main 2 strikers, but I think the fact that Tony's playing in Saudi, I think that's working against him right now, even though I don't think that should be the case. Solanke obviously hasn't been playing this season. Liam Delap's out injured. Who else we got? Callum Wilson, yeah, he's done now. He won't get called up again. Calvert-Lewin, again, periphery. Ollie Watkins is probably the closest to Harry Kane in terms of being being picked. Done Liam Delap. Who else is there? I mean, you got players like Danny Welbeck. You know, Danny Welbeck's record for England's very good, but again, Danny Welbeck's not gonna get is not gonna get called up. But again, England's striking force, you know, for me, isn't really there. But it's one of them things that we have to just look at it and think no one's really going to get game time apart from Harry Kane. So yeah, as I said, yeah, it's one of them things, guys. I will get back to some of your questions or comments in a bit once I discuss what I'm saying, because I'm going to cover a lot of what some of you are probably coming out with anyway. So, but yeah, before we carry on, there's 38 of you in there. Smash the like button, guys, and make sure you sub to the channel if you're new as well. As I said, guys, make sure you guys check the description. So I've got a boxing fight coming up in December for charity. So I've got in my description, I've got my my choice of charity that I'm doing it for, which is Andy's Man Club, and obviously that's for men's mental health. So again, if you guys can make any donation, whether small or big, it's much appreciated, and it's going to a good cause. You know, I think men's mental health, you know, is highly slept on. So yeah, if you guys I would appreciate if you guys could donate. As I said, you know, if it's like £2, £5, whatever it is, at least it's something, you know. So big up yourselves, smash the like button, and again, if you're new in here, make sure you sub to the channel as well. So so yeah, I think personally, yeah, them players there. So we got what, 4 or 5 players: Jordan Pickford, Guehi or Stones, Declan Rice, and Harry Kane. Them guys there definitely starting, you know. And again, you know, it's about what players fit around that. I know some of you have just mentioned. I see someone just mentioned Bukayo Saka, and I think Saka could be in that. He could be in the conversation, although, you know, he's gonna have competition out there, you know, because if we're looking at the likes of Cole Palmer, you're looking at, I mean, I don't even want to say it, but Madueke, you know, because Tuchel does like Madueke. You got obviously Jared Bowen as well, even though I don't think Bowen will start. I think Saka does have competition for places out there. But Saka's going to be first choice. Again, it's another one where if he can prove his fitness, you know, and his form. But for me, for me, Cole Palmer has to start, you know. Whether Cole Palmer for me starts in the 10 or starts on the right, he has to have a place for me in that England team. You know, I do think, big up to Mike as well. Big up Mike for coming through. I do think he is definitely someone for me, you know. Sorry, 1 minute. Yeah, I do think he is someone for me, yeah, that he has to figure in this team, you know, 100%. You know, I rate Cole Palmer highly, and I think he's someone with his individual quality, you know, that's going to be needed in the World Cup. And so that's what I'm saying. With Saka, I think many fans might think Saka definitely deserves to be in the lineup. For me, I don't really see it like that, because I think Cole Palmer has to play. And as I said, I think Cole Palmer's more adept at playing on that right-hand side. So, but again, Tuchel's got a decision to make. Who else is there? I know someone mentioned Jude Bellingham. Again, you guys won't be surprised to hear me say this, but for me, I wouldn't have Jude Bellingham nowhere near the lineup, you know. I mean, this might be, some people might not agree with this, but I wouldn't even have Jude Bellingham in the squad. I wouldn't, because I think there's a lot better players in that position than Jude Bellingham, you know, and I'll stick with that opinion. So Jude Bellingham wouldn't start for me in central midfield, because if Tuchel's going to play a 2 in there, I definitely don't think Bellingham is disciplined enough to play as a 2, and there's better players to fit that role as well. And in the 10, you know, you've got players that I've not even spoken about, which, again, Jack Grealish for me has to be a starter for me. I'll start Jack Grealish on that left-hand side or in the 10. So he has to be in there for me. So you got Grealish in the 10, ahead of Burnham, Eze, Cole Palmer. Even I'd prefer Foden in there as well. So again, Morgan Gibbs-White, Morgan Rogers. So all these players there, I would prefer in the 10 than Jude Bellingham. So Jude Bellingham doesn't make the squad for me. You know, I know people won't be happy with that, but it is what it is. So as I said, man, yeah, there's players for me that have to be in the squad and have to start. But again, he can't start everyone. So yeah, I think Bellingham for me, as we know, Bellingham's going to be in the squad. We know that. As I mentioned yesterday, Jude Bellingham's PR, you know, along with probably Marcus Rashford, Declan Rice, is the best PR of any England player in the squad. So we just know he's going to be in there because could you imagine if Thomas Tuchel decided to not pick Jude Bellingham? How much criticism, you know, and under pressure he'll be from the fans and from the media, you know. So we know Bellingham's going to be there. I think the big question is, does he start? Because I tell you this now, yeah, if he starts Jude Bellingham in the World Cup as a regular, he's going to unbalance the team. He is. Because you're going to have him playing in the 10 and you're going to be leaving better players on the bench. So how's that going to work? So again, yeah, big up to Mike, man. You've been a loyal supporter, man, for a while. So big up yourself. So yeah, listen, I think definitely it's one of them things where we have to see what he does. But I definitely do think there's question marks over the likes of Bellingham. There's question marks whether Saka is a regular starter. The left-hand side is interesting as well because if we're looking at it right now, it's definitely between Marcus Rashford and Anthony Gordon. The fact that Gordon got a goal yesterday, you know, he's staking his claim to be in contention. For me, you know, I think if Jadon Sancho can prove his fitness, prove his form, you know, Jack Grealish the same, I think England will be silly to not consider both of them players because from a quality standpoint, those two players are high on quality more than Rashford and Anthony Gordon. But as we know, Gordon and Rashford offer the pace, which is what Tuchel probably likes. But I think those two players on that left-hand side, Sancho and Grealish, definitely need to be in contention if they can prove their form and fitness, you know. So, but I think at the moment, I think those two, Rashford and Gordon, are in the box seat for the left-hand side. And then you look at players like Phil Foden. And guys, I did say this, you know, I said this, was it the start of the summer or last season? You know, I think with Phil Foden, the clamour for Foden to be in the squad is coming from the pundits, you know, because as we know, Phil Foden is a media darling. We know that, yeah? So, but I did say Phil Foden's going to have a tough time getting in this squad because I think if you look at the fact that Foden was earmarked as being the next Gascoigne, you know, if you think of, was it the World Cup where he had his hair dyed blonde, you know, there was a massive clamour for Foden to be that guy, you know, just like what England do with previous players. You know, you think of Gascoigne, you think of Owen, Rooney, Wilshere, Barkley, Kane. You know, England always pick the one player that they want to hang their hopes on. Now it's Bellingham, yeah? I think Foden was that, and obviously Foden has shown that he isn't that sort of player. So he's gone from being held up as England's biggest, you know, biggest talent coming through to now being someone that might not even make the squad. And I did say this because if you look at the players he's competing with for the number 10 spot and for the right-hand side, yeah, you're looking at, as I said, you've got Saka, Palmer, even Madueke's come through now, at being at Arsenal. And then you got Jared Bowen. Again, Jared Bowen's a good player, but the fact that Bowen's probably at West Ham, you know, he's probably last of the pick on that side, but he's a very good player. And Foden's even behind all them players on the right-hand side. And then the number 10, where I do think Foden is his strongest position, again, we've mentioned the likes of Eze, Jack Grealish, who's not even in the squad, Bellingham, you think of Gibbs-White, Rogers, you know, all them players that can play there. Again, Foden's not really in contention for those positions either. So yeah, he's gonna find it hard to get in the squad. I think the only way he gets into this squad is if Man City go on and win the league and he's instrumental and he stays fit and has a mad season. Because I think the way it looks now, it's very unlikely that Foden's going to be figuring. Because I think even if, you know, Thomas Tuchel is looking to bring a player in if someone gets injured, I don't think Foden's next up. I think that's how far he's probably dropped from the squad. So, yeah, it's one of them things, man, that he's got a lot to do. Lot to do. I think fullbacks, you know, is going to be interesting. I think right back, I think Reece James again, if he proves his fitness, which I think he's in the same boat as probably John Stones. If he proves his fitness, for me, he's the first choice right back, no doubt, with his quality and he's very good defensively as well. I think if you look at who's going to be at right back if Reece James can't prove his fitness, you probably have to say the likes of. I mean, Livermento's out injured. You know, you've got Jed Spence who can play either side. Who else is that right back? It just Trent. I mean, people might say Trent, but again, Trent's injured. And do I think Trent will be the right back if Reece James is not? I don't think he is. I think the problem with Trent, especially with international football, I think as a right back, you need to be defensively solid. And I think in tournament football, I think many wingers or attackers will find themselves confident going up against a Trent rather than a Reece James, you know. So I just don't know if Trent returns to the England squad, if he's going to play right back or not. I don't really know how Tuchel sees him in the squad, if I'm honest. So, as I said, man, I think he's got a lot to do to get in the squad. I mean, I think Konsa's a guarantee in the England squad. And I think the reason Konsa's a guarantee is because Konsa can play centre-back and right-back. So if you want to play slightly more defensive, you know, if you're holding on to a lead, this is where Konsa comes into it. And then you can play him right-back and you can play Guehi and Stones centre-back. You know what I mean? So I think Konsa's another one that's a definite if he stays fit in the squad. So, yeah, for me, it's one of them things where... yeah, there's a lot of players that might be in the squad. But I think there's a lot of players that, you know, might actually miss out. But I do think the fullbacks, Reece James is there if he's fit. Livermento, I mean, he's got to prove his fitness. I think Jed Spencer's got a good chance going because he can play either side. You know, it could be between him and Livermento who actually goes. And... I'm trying to think who else is at right back. I think Trippier, yeah, Trippier's retired. Trent was spoken about. Big up to Iftikhar as well for coming through. And I think, who else is there? Who else can play right back for England? I can't remember now. There was a point where England had so many right backs. I think Carl Walker for me is done now. You know, I don't see Carl Walker getting called up again. I mean, the only reason why Walker probably will get called up is because of his experience, but I think it's probably time for them to give, you know, chances to like newer players now. I think left back, they've probably got a bit of an issue. You know, I think Dan Burn is someone that can play centre back and left back. You know, he can play in the free as well. So I think it might be a case where, you know, Tuchel might be looking at his versatility to play for England. But I think left back, I don't know if Lewis Skelly is going to hold that position down. You know, you think of Luke Shaw as well. I mean, Luke Shaw all of a sudden now is fit. I think, I don't know if he gets called up. I mean, he hasn't been called up lately, so Tuchel might be looking at elsewhere. But I think in terms of natural left backs, it's one of them things where Lewis Hall for Newcastle, again, hasn't really been called up. And again, England haven't really got too many options to play at left back, man, to be honest with you. So I think Lewis Skelly's there because he's probably the new player coming through. And it's one of them things where, you know, he probably wants to give chances to players and see how they get on. But I can't really tell you who's going to be first choice left back because although Lewis Skelly did start yesterday, I don't know if it's going to be Lewis Skelly. I don't know if he's going to play a regular left-footed player at left back. Who knows? But I think we have to say that at this moment in time, you know, Lewis Skelly is probably on the radar as being first choice, but I just don't know if it happens like that. Again, guys, let me know what you think. What players are definite in. Mike says, once Walker lost his pace, his career was basically finished. Yeah, more or less. More or less. I think anyone that has watched Carl Walker's career will know that his pace and his strength was a massive advantage to how far his career got. I think as a footballer, he's decent, but his pace and his strength was his it was his kryptonite, really. You know, it was his difference maker. So just like a lot of players, really, you know. Big up to Lumi Rain as well. Big up to Lumi. Big up to Agnes as well for coming through. Guys, come on, only 5 likes. Smash the like button and make sure you sub to the channel if you're new in here as well. So I've heard that Palmer, Jude and Foden are trying to fight for a spot for the national team as only one of them fit. Tuchel's tactics because Kane drags back and Tuchel wants fast wingers. Yeah, listen, I hear that. I definitely hear that. I mean, if you're asking me, Palmer has to be first choice. If it's a case of picking between them 3 players, it's Cole Palmer for me every day. You know, I do like Phil Foden, but for me, Cole Palmer has surpassed him, you know, in terms of his standing at the moment. And again, it's not to say that Foden isn't a good player, because he is. But I think with Cole Palmer's just got that added X factor for me, you know. Cole Palmer doesn't have to rely on a system. I think there's players that are the system. You think of Jack Grealish, he's the system for me. I definitely think Cole Palmer's one of them. You know, you could possibly say Eze is one of them as well. So yeah, listen, I definitely do think for me, Cole Palmer is 100% ahead for me. You know, there's no doubt in that. But as I said as well, guys, I think what's going to happen with England is the Harry Kane factor. Does Tuchel want Harry Kane to be playing as more of a target man, you know, and allow the number 10s to, you know, get in the spaces that Harry Kane wants to get into? Or does he play with Saka and Gordon or Rashford and allow Harry Kane to drop deep? Because I think against the better teams, that's going to be a factor, you know, because Harry Kane's natural game is to drop deep and connect the play. But, you know, that could be nullified if you've got a number 10, like a Grealish, let's say, like a Cole Palmer, an Eze. It's going to be pointless Harry Kane dropping deep because they're going to be getting into each other's spaces. The number 10 that you would need, if Harry Kane does do that, is someone that can run into the box. And again, this is where the likes of a Jude Bellingham will come into it, because as we know about Jude Bellingham, he is very box to box, and he does get in the final third. So this is where he might come into it. But I would like to see Harry Kane play as a target man striker and have a number 10 that can get on the ball and dictate. So, but again, we have to see what Tuchel's going to do. Because again, he might prefer Harry Kane dropping deep, which means he wants the fast wingers, which will mean you're going to play with a more balanced midfield, you know. Big up to Barbara Joseph with the super sticker. Big up each and every time. Lumi says Foden's the best one. Yeah, listen, I mean, I disagree. I think Foden is a very good player, but there's no denying that Foden, you know, has dropped off and he's behind Cole Palmer for me. I think I mean, I'd be very surprised to see if anyone thinks differently. I'll be very surprised, you know. So, big up to Brer Lewis says, how do you think Man U will perform in Liverpool's game? Big up for coming through. Guys, I'm going to talk about that. So I'm going to do the match preview to the Man United versus Liverpool game, possibly on Friday. So again, if you guys come through on Friday, again, it'll be strictly that stream for Man United and Liverpool. So today we're talking about England qualifying for the World Cup and how we see certain players and who definitely is going to play. So, yeah, man, have that question in mind, bro. Big up, man. So, yeah, midfield, guys. Central midfield, I think it's going to be interesting because, you know, I think if you're looking at Elliot Anderson, as it stands right now, I think Elliot Anderson is a guaranteed starter as well, you know. And look at that. Elliot Anderson's come from nowhere to be guaranteed a starter, to be a guaranteed starter for me right now. Because I think Declan Rice, we know, is going to play. And I think Elliot Anderson is looking at the player playing next to him. And for me, Adam Wharton, for me, has to be in there. I still pick Kobbie Mainoo as well, even though Kobbie's not playing right now. But I think there's no denying that Elliot Anderson has forced his way into the lineup. And I'll go as far and say, Elliot Anderson, for me, I think he's a definite in the squad. I think if there's concerns, even little concerns about his fitness or his form, I think he's played his way into being definitely in the squad. You know, and that's a player that's come from nowhere. And I remember watching England in the Euros, the under-21s, yeah? And I said at the time, he's going to be a senior England international because I think he was in the team of the tournament. And you can tell in that final against Germany, and not only the final, you know, he was instrumental in England winning that tournament. So I definitely saw that he was going to be in England's senior squad. And again, if you look at England's under-21s, I think he's the only one that's transitioned from the 21s to the senior squad and becoming a regular starter, you know. So, yeah, it's one of them things that I definitely think at the moment is Elliot Anderson. Adam Wharton, for me, has to be in there because he's the only really cultured defensive midfielder that England have. Kobbie Mainoo, for me, has to be there because I think he still has the quality to be a massive asset for England. But again, he's got to get game time for Man United. So, yeah, there's definitely factors for certain players being in the squad, being starters. But I just don't know what in Tuchel's thinking. But the guys that I mentioned, you know, the likes of Kane, Declan Rice, Stones, Guehi, and Pickford, I think those players there are definitely starting. Yeah, definitely starters. So, Gav, next time you do a stream, do you mind me giving you some United trivia? Yeah, listen, we'll do that for the Q&A. So that's going to be a members only one. So again, once you guys become a member, you know, obviously show your support to the channel. Then I'll be doing a live Q&A, you know, and it can be a United trivia for myself. You know, it could be questions for you guys as well. So that's going to be a members only. That won't be on a normal stream. So yeah, that'll be a members only one. Kevin's back. The defence is where England will fall down. Tuchel seems to have an industrious midfield with Rice and Anderson. Bellingham will be there for Shaw and Palmer. So as I said, yeah, there's no doubting for me that Jude Bellingham will be in the squad once the decisions are being made. But for me, I wouldn't have him in the squad. I wouldn't have him starting because I think there's better options there. Because I think it's important to look at Jude Bellingham. Is he going to be a number 10 or is he going to be a central midfielder in the 2? So if he's going to be a central midfielder in the 2, you shouldn't start him there because he isn't disciplined enough to play that role. And he's not cultured enough, you know, like an Adam Wharton, for instance, or even an Elliot Anderson to get England playing, really. So for me, he doesn't start in that sense. And in the number 10, again, there's better options than Jude Bellingham for me. So, you know, it might be an unpopular opinion, but not on this channel because, as I said, he doesn't start for me. So, yeah, I think Rice and Anderson right now is the preferred options. And I think they definitely do start. But, yo, Raheem Sterling, man, that's a name I ain't heard in time. You know, I forgot about Raheem Sterling. And again, Raheem Sterling for England in tournaments is very good. But to think that Raheem Sterling's nowhere to be seen just shows you. Anthony Gordon's the most natural left winger. I don't know about that. I think Rashford's a natural winger out there as well, I would say. But for me, if it was down to me, you know, my preference would be starting on the left would be Jadon Sancho or Jack Grealish for me because of the way that I want to see football played. But again, those two, especially Sancho, who hasn't been in the squad for time, it's an uphill task, you know. But yeah. So Kevin just says, did this guy just call Grealish a 10? Again, Kevin's showing his lack of intelligence there. Because if Kevin doesn't think Grealish is a 10, then I'm sorry, I'm not sure what football Kevin's watched. So we're gonna skip past that because again, I'm not quite sure. Because Kevin, if you think Grealish is not a 10, then I'm sorry, man. I don't know what football you know, because that's appalling to come out with that, man. That's actually showing that you don't really watch the game properly, or you don't really know what a number 10 is. So yeah, we're gonna skip past that. Pickford, Spence, Stones, Guehi, Hall, Rice, Anderson, Foden, Saka, Gordon, Kane is my pick. I mean, to be fair, that team there, I don't think wins the that team there doesn't win the World Cup. It doesn't for me. You know, doesn't win the World Cup for me. 100% confident of that. Although I don't think England win the World Cup anyway, but I don't think that team goes far, because I think when they play against the best teams, you'll see very quickly that team ain't good enough. Gav, did you play in any of England's youth teams? I didn't, but I had trials for England under 16s schoolboys, which obviously I didn't get picked for that. But yeah, I had trials for them when I was at Chelsea. I got offered a trial for the England under 16s, yeah, but didn't make the grade, unfortunately. But again, competition, you know, favoritism, you know, obviously opinions. A lot of these things come into it, so it is what it is. Gav, is pronounced as Tuchel, not Tuchel. Nice, Tuchel, man. Look, you spelled it right the second time. Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel. What happened to prime Raheem Sterling? Well, listen, obviously football catches up with you at the end of the day. And again, there's other options. And obviously he's not one of them. So, but again, there's no denying in tournament football, you know, Raheem Sterling does usually do well for England. But his England days are done now. They're well and truly done. So, Grealish has never played in the 10. Winger for Villa, City, and now for Everton. Yeah, skip past it because you know, pathetic. Yeah, it's pathetic, Kevin, yeah, because you're showing your lack of intelligence for what a number 10 is. The fact that you're saying he has never played in the 10 for Villa, which he has, and you're saying he plays as a winger. Again, you're showing your lack of intelligence. And what you're doing, you're embarrassing yourself, Kevin. So you can come out with all this disrespect, or you can be a bit rude in your responses. But the fact that you actually think Grealish is not a number 10, again, it shows your unintelligence for this conversation. Because just because a player starts in a position where it might be on the left doesn't mean he's not a 10. You know, all you have to do is look at the qualities of a player. You know, he's a natural number 10 that can play on the left. Don't look at the fact that Everton or City played him out on the left-hand side as he's not a number 10. Because you have to think of systems, you know. A lot of teams play with a 3 in midfield. And if you're playing with a 3 in midfield where you've got box-to-box midfielders and a DM, the number 10s now play out on the left. I'll give you an example, Kevin. Yeah, this is a bit of education for you, yeah? Eden Hazard is a number 10. But Eden Hazard didn't play as a 10 for Belgium or for Chelsea, because those teams play with a 3 in midfield. It's about packing the midfield up and having your number 10s play out wide. Again, you get different sorts of wingers. You get number 10s who are out wide. You get inside forwards. You get wide forwards. And you get wingers. That's the difference. So Jack Grealish is a number 10 playing out wide. Jadon Sancho is a number 10 playing out wide. Morgan Rogers, if he plays out wide for Villa, he's a number 10 playing out wide. Eden Hazard is a number 10 playing out wide. Again, don't look at the positions that they start, yeah? Have a look at the qualities of the player. Because you coming out with Grealish is not a number 10 is one of the worst comments I've seen. Again, everyone's free to their opinion, you know, which is what it's all about. But again, when you're coming out with stuff like that, you have to know what you're talking about. So there you go. I'm not moving past it, yeah? But I'm just letting you know that, you know, that's a bit of education for you, Kevin, coming out with that. Because to say that he's not a 10 is poor judgment. Because you're probably the same kind of person that would say that Bruno Fernandes is a number 10 ahead of Jack Grealish, which again shows you your lack of intelligence. So yeah, we're going to move past it now anyway. My shout is Spain for the World Cup. Yeah, I think Spain have to be up there, 100%. 100%. Yeah, Spain is definitely one of the favourites there. And I think it's one of them things that if Spain have their full team, I think minimum semi-final for them. You know, and I think they'll be targeting at least a semi-final, you know. And that's the expectations that I think many will place on Spain. Big up to Mike. Again, Mike, you understand, you know. Palmer's a 10 who can play on the right too. Again, big up to Mike because these things are not really hard to understand. They're not hard to understand. You know, that's got to be one of the worst comments I've ever seen. Grealish is not a 10. He actually thinks Grealish is a winger. You know what I mean? So, I mean, you can't help some people, man. Big up to Rishi as well. Big up, Rishi. Yeah, listen, Kevin equals troll with zero ball knowledge. Listen, but he's entertaining, man. He's an entertainer. And, you know, if he wants to come up, if Kevin wants to come on here, and be a troll and entertain the chat, 1 minute, guys. That should go off in a minute. Hazard wasn't a 10. All right, Kevin. Let's move on, Kevin. You just don't get it, man. Either Kevin gets it and he's trying to be stubborn for no reason, or he's just absolutely clueless, as he says, you know, because yeah, let's just move past that. Kevin, you are free to your opinion, but as I said, like you're either stubborn or you're just being difficult for being difficult. You know, this is a channel that we have opinions, which again, even a lot of the mods, there's a lot of the opinions that I don't agree with the mods. But one thing's for certain, we're never disrespectful about it, yeah, and we don't just come out with stuff for the sake of it. You know, you're someone that's come on there, and you're having your opinion, and then when you get proven that your opinion's not really correct or you have a difference of opinion, you can't just take it. You end up just becoming, you know, repetitive, or you end up just trying to be rude, you know. So that's the problem, man. Again, you're not forced to be here. So you're now disrespecting one of my mods, so you're now going to be removed later. Let's time him out. Yeah, you don't come on there and disrespect any of my mods, Kevin. So you're now gone. Mike says, Spain or France for me. I would even like to see that as a final. Yeah, listen, Spain, France. Imagine, I mean, Brazil got beat by Japan the other day, which is crazy. But yeah, I think Spain, France, Brazil. I mean, Argentina for me, I don't think they're going to make that. I think Messi's a year older now. So yeah, I don't see France. I don't see Argentina getting to the final. Again, Brazil have a lot of quality, but we're not sure what they're going to do. But yeah, I think Spain, France, I think they're going to be the teams for me. But again, I think it's going to be an open tournament, you know, because I think there's a lot of teams that will fancy themselves at least making a semi-final. You know, I mean, congratulations as well to Cape Verde. You know, Cape Verde making, is it their first ever World Cup, which is mad, you know. I think not obviously Nani's from Cape Verde as well. So again, Nani must be proud. Obviously, Nani, ex-Man United winger. So, yeah, Cape Verde, man, making their first ever World Cup, I believe. So, crazy. Yeah, listen, if Gav told us Messi is a forward, Kevin would say he plays centre-back. Yeah, but listen, we know what Kevin's on. We know what Kevin's on. Kevin's just trying to be difficult for no reason. You know, he does this every stream. His entertainment, you know, again, I'm not asking for Kevin to agree to my opinions. It's not about that. But Kevin's just coming on there talking nonsense for the sake of it. But then when he starts disrespecting any of my mods, you know, this is when he has to go. So he's been timed out, guys, for 24 hours. I'll give him one more chance to come back in with any positivity next stream. And if he's rude again, we just block him indefinitely. Because I don't need him on my channel because he's not really adding anything but entertainment, really. But I can go and get that from elsewhere. So, is what it is. Do you think Portugal will do something in the World Cup? You know what? I don't think they do. I don't think they do. As we know with Portugal, they've got so much quality in their squad, especially if you're thinking of attack, you would say. You know, but I think the problem is they always flatter to deceive for me. I know they won the Nations League, but again, I think in the World Cup, I don't see it. I think the biggest problem that they're going to have is what they do with Ronaldo. Because I tell you this now, yeah, if they start with Ronaldo as the main striker, I mean, Ronaldo's going to be 40 by the time this competition comes around. If Ronaldo's their main starter going forwards as the striker and the captain, they're gonna struggle against the best teams. You've heard it here first. I think Ronaldo, his legacy, what he's done in the game, you know, the numbers, etc., has to be respected. But I think if Portugal wanna move forward, in terms of what they do in whether it's the Euros or the World Cup, Ronaldo has to be an impact sub for me. So that's the way forward that I see it for them. But I just don't think they're gonna do that. So who knows, man? I think for me, you need a strong manager that's gonna say to Ronaldo, look, you know, we see you as an impact sub, not as a starter if we want to be serious. But I don't think there's no manager that's actually gonna do that. So yeah, it's pretty pointless, you know, us discussing this because we know what's gonna happen. But I definitely do think, you know, they need to look at the fact that Ronaldo should be seen as an impact sub for me, you know. So yeah, that's the way I see it anyway. So you're gonna hate me for saying this, but I truly feel the Euros are more difficult to win compared to the World Cup. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. That's a good comment though, because I think the fact that you're getting African teams, you're getting South American teams, you know, these guys do pose a different kind of threat. You know, a lot of these teams are very hard to beat in terms of these guys love playing for their countries, you know. So I'm gonna say winning the World Cup's a lot harder. You know, there's more games as well. I do think it's a lot harder. But yeah, the Euros, yeah, I mean, I can see why you say that, but I'm going to say the World Cup's difficult to win. That's why it's the World Cup. That's why it's every 4 years, because it's the best of the best having to go through the qualifiers. You know, I think the Euros, you know, I think when we look at the Euros, for me, there's only a few teams that I'm looking at that can possibly win the Euros. France, Spain, you know, it's always them two teams really at the top. You know, and then you look at the likes of Germany, Italy, England's always in the conversation, Holland. Them guys, I look at them as competitors. But I think right now, France and Spain for me are the front runners for the Euros. But whereas the World Cup, you know, you bring in the South American teams, you know, as well, it makes it that more difficult. So I'm gonna say the World Cup. But big up, man, for the for the comment. Good comment. Uh, yeah, listen, I think that Portugal squad. I mean, you think of João Felix again, top player, but he's not going to start. Rafael Leao will probably start on the left hand side. I think the thing with Portugal as well, I think this tournament's going to mean a lot more to them, obviously, for obvious reasons. You know, you think of the likes of what happened to Diogo Jota, rest in peace. You know, I think it's going to have a fire in their belly come that tournament. So I definitely don't think they'll be going, you know, full throttle, you know, trying to do it for Diogo Jota and his family. So, and his, obviously his brother as well. So I definitely do think that's going to be a factor. But if you're relying on Ronaldo and Bruno, I don't think it's a good idea personally, because again, you've got Ronaldo who's 40 years of age once this tournament comes round, and then you've got Bruno Fernandes. For me, the team should never be built around Bruno Fernandes because he isn't that player. For me, Vitinha, you know, has to be key in that midfield. You know, you think of, I mean, they've got a lot of options. That's what I will say. But I think in terms of midfield, I think Vitinha has to be the key man. Again, Bernardo Silva's dropped off for me because the Bernardo Silva that I remember, you know, playing in the 10 for Monaco isn't the same player now. I think Pep's made him more of a workhorse, you know. He's a workhorse with quality, but he's more of a workhorse now. But again, they've got a lot of quality, as we know. You know, they've got the best left back in the world right now for me in Nuno Mendes. So, yeah, the quality is always going to be there with Portugal. The strength and depth as well. But to build your team around Bruno and Ronaldo, I don't think it's a good idea, personally, you know. But guys, anyway, listen, gonna wrap up. Obviously got things to do. Obviously been going for an hour, or just short of an hour. So yeah, guys, make sure you sub to the channel if you're new in here. Make sure you smash the like button as well if you haven't done so already. As I said, big up to all the mods. Big up to everyone coming through as well and supporting the channel. It's much appreciated. And again, make sure, guys, you've got your notifications on to see when I do go live. You know, obviously, there are times I do go live. I normally go live more or less 10:30, 11:30. I'm going to try and aim to go live at 10:30 from now on. But obviously, some things do come up. So, again, yeah, if you guys do enjoy the content, check out the other content as well. You know, I've got some good playlists up there. You know, there's some good shorts on there as a playlist. You know, they're called outrageous. I can't remember what it's called, outrageous or not. So yeah, check out the playlist. And again, I got a new playlist that I've done recently, which is called Gav's Great Plays. So it's obviously some clips of me playing five-a-side. So yeah, make sure you guys give that a check. And check out, obviously, all my other content as well. So, yeah, just make sure you guys go over and see that. And guys, as I said before, you know, I've got a boxing fight coming up in December for charity. So for Andy's Club, which is for men's mental health. So again, if you guys check the description, if you guys can donate, you know, to my Just Giving page with the link being on there. And again, even if it's a little donation, you know, something is better than nothing. So as I said, would appreciate you guys donating to the to my Just Giving page. Again, I've got to raise a minimum of £50. So again, if you guys can donate, it would be great. And as I said, as always, you know, make sure you guys start becoming a member. Obviously, there's a members only section that I'm going to create, you know, a Q&A. You know, I've got some posts up on there as well. And again, I will be doing some content from my boxing, some sparring, some fitness and some pad work as well. That will be going up as members only. So again, if you guys do support the channel, make sure you try and become a member like that. And as I said, it's much appreciated you guys contributing to the channel as well. So I'm going to possibly be live tomorrow, possibly 10:30. Big up to TM Elaine as well. Big up to Broderick. So yeah, I'm possibly going to be live tomorrow at 10:30. So again, make sure your notifications are on to see when I do go live. And also as well, guys, forgot to say, I'm going to do a live watch-along for the Man United and Liverpool game. I'll be going live at 3:30 for kickoff at 4 o'clock. So yeah, make sure you guys come through as well and support the channel for the live watch-along. And I'll be doing the match preview on Friday as well. So again, yeah, make sure you guys got your notifications on to see when I do go live. And I said, much appreciate you guys coming through and contributing. And I shall see you guys tomorrow. Obviously, got training today, boxing training. Looking forward to it. Trying to get over this cold as well, as you guys have probably noticed. But yeah, listen, got to focus now. And obviously, bigger and better things to come out. And as I said, much appreciated you guys coming through and contributing. So yeah, guys, big up yourselves each and every time. I'll catch you guys in a bit.